Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar from the National Retrofit Hub. We'll do some quick introductions to ourselves in just a second. But a bit of housekeeping. If you're able to keep your mics on mute, please, that would be great. This is going to be a very quick webinar, but please do introduce yourself in the chat. And if you've got questions as we go along, please do pop them in the chat and we will get back to you with answers via email afterwards. So I'm Rachel Owens. I'm co-director of the National Retrofit Hub. We're going to tell you a bit more about who we are during the course of this call, but I'll hand over to my colleagues. Rachel.
Hi, Rachel Brown, Head of Marketing and Comms for the National Retrofit Hub, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the benefits and how we communicate the work that we're doing alongside our partners and sponsors. And I'll let Ben introduce himself.
Hiya. So I'm Ben White. I'm the Senior Marketing Executive, and I'll be sort of demonstrating some of the benefits of our website for potential partners and sponsors, and also just give you a quick run through of key statistics.
Thanks so much, Ben and Rach. So if you didn't hear at the start, if you have questions as we go along, please do pop them in the chat and we will get back to you after the webinar is finished. We'll also be recording the webinar, so if you want to share this with any colleagues afterwards, you'll get a link to the recording that you can share. So yeah, let's kick off. If you're able to start sharing, Ben, please. So yeah, we wanted to talk to you today about opportunities to collaborate in more depth with us at the National Retrofit Hub, and in particular ways to become either a partner or a sponsor. So if we can go to the next slide. We're going to do a very brief introduction to our work. Some of you may have engaged with this already before, but for some of you, this might be the first time you're hearing about the National Retrofit Hub. We're going to talk through some engagement and sponsorship benefits, how we can maximize engagement together, and Ben's going to talk through some of that, and then we'll close. So it should be quite a short session, but hopefully very informative for you all. So yeah, next slide, please. So, the National Retrofit Hub is a non-profit collaborative organisation that's been set up to really bring together all those involved in the retrofit sector to enable the local delivery of retrofit at scale. And how we do that is through convening a large audience. We want to try and bring as many parts of the retrofit sector together as possible. We facilitate conversations with that audience, distill their insights, and produce evidence based on all of that engagement and conversations that we have. We try and synthesize what can be really complex information into something that is actionable. And that's really key to what we're doing here. It's trying to sort of stimulate growth and build resilience in the retrofit sector and support the delivery of retrofit by making these insights and resources and tools available that are really directly actionable by either the sector or decision makers at local and national government level. So next slide, please. And how do we do that? So as I mentioned, a really key way is convening stakeholders to tackle known barriers to retrofit at scale. We want to help advance research to address critical gaps. And we're a completely independent body, and we want to ensure that we're providing insights and tools that can help the whole industry and beyond. And we want to connect and amplify the sector. So thinking about how we can really make sure that as many people as possible are aware of the multiple benefits of retrofit. Sorry, Ben, if you wouldn't mind popping back to the last one. We want to coordinate efforts of all of us to optimize investment and also support government delivery. So thinking about what the sector are telling us and how we need to sort of feed that back to the government to make sure that policies that are created can work for all. Thanks. Next one. So we do this work through a series of channels. So one of them is our working groups. We have 6 different working groups that are tackling different challenges within the retrofit sector. And recently we've identified a series of cross-cutting themes that overlap different working groups. And I'll talk a little bit about those later and how to get involved with those. We also have an advisory panel. This is really critical. So this is made up of our partners and sponsors. It's really a group of high-level industry leaders who are able to feed back on the work that we do, help shape and prioritize our activities, and make sure that we're really bearing in mind the whole retrofit sector. And then we have a knowledge hub, which Ben's going to share a little bit more information on later, bringing together best practice guidance and information. And that's where we house a lot of our own resources, but also our partner and sponsor resources as well, which we'll come on to. So in 2024, we managed to publish 11 outputs. They've had over 23,000 views to date. So we think that they're having a really sort of impactful role in helping people in the retrofit sector. They've been delivered by different working groups. So from our qualifications and training map that we launched back in January, through to our State of the Nation review that we launched in August, which looked at the scale and the pace of retrofit delivery. And how different delivery mechanisms are working and what needed to improve and change. Lots there on our website for you to explore that are all freely available and sort of tagged so you can find the most relevant information for you. Next slide. So in terms of our engagement, one of the ways that we make sure that we're covering as much of the sector as possible and linking people together, making sure not to sort of repeat work that's already being done, is through our strategic partnerships. So we've got these relationships with a number of different organizations across the UK, and also with different sort of people who are doing impactful work in this space, particularly our relationships with the Welsh Zero Carbon Hub, the Belfast Retrofit Hub, Best in Scotland, and the SEAI help us to sort of make sure that we're considering all nations and beyond when we're thinking about work to overcome some of the barriers to retrofit. And then we also have regular meetings with colleagues from DESNZ, MHCLG and the HSE. And we're finding that more and more we're engaging, particularly with DESNZ as they develop their warm homes plan, as we can feed in insights from the sector to them. Next slide. So a part of the way that we need to exist is by funding our work. Because we're an independent organisation, we don't have a commercial interest in the space. We do this through a few different streams. So our first 2 years were part funded by Innovate UK. We're just over 2 years old now. We also receive funding from the MCS Foundation and Impact on Urban Health, who were looking at specific projects that tackle poor health in housing and how retrofit can improve that. And then the really big part of this is our partners and sponsors. So on the next slide, you'll see we've got a really vast breadth of existing partners and sponsors in this space, real industry leaders, people who are trying to have positive change within the industry. And these organizations really are the backbone of helping us support what we do, keep our sort of independent position, and make sure that we're having the impact where needed. And they all sit on our advisory panel, as well as being able to support our work. And we sort of promote one another's work, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And then I think I'm handing over to you here.
Yes,
Rach.
you are. Yeah. So our partners are non-profit organisations who we work with, and sponsors are commercial organisations. So fairly interchangeable. It's just about the type of organisation that you are. But some of the key benefits that organisations find through working with us is through really being able to maximise their impact, because as one organization alone, there's some amazing things that you can do. But by collaborating with us and being involved more formally, you get to kind of get the benefit of this really rich network. So accelerating the local retrofit delivery and having access to sharing our resources and insights that you may well have been involved in, shaping, that future of retrofit. So through roles on our advisory panel, through opportunities to co-author content with us, which in turn feeds into the work that we're doing with local and national government, and continuing to strengthen your organisation's collaboration. So making that even stronger with the network that we have through the experts, organisations, policymakers, and then having the option really to go even further. And we'll come on to talk about this in terms of some of the programs we're involved in, and the opportunity to work hand in hand with us, developing actual research programs. And then, next slide, please, Ben. So my background is 20 years in marketing communications for the built environment. And I was trying to think about, really, when I was within an organization, what would I've really found beneficial? And for me, there's a great opportunity with your own social impact work. So we're developing our measurement and impact framework, and we'll be starting to produce an annual social impact report. And there's some great things in there that you can use within your own frameworks through collaboration with us. Really fantastic alignment in terms of your own objectives within the retrofit space, and then reaching the audience. We have a really highly engaged audience that's growing, and I think really what I would say about our network, it's the quality versus the quantity, even though it is steadily increasing. And there's a great opportunity to share information both ways. So by becoming a partner or sponsor, we can share your resources and through our channels that Ben will explain more about. And also you can share more widely about the work that you're doing with us as well. So it can work both ways. And I'm going to talk through just very high level different packages that are available. I would like to say, firstly, we are an inclusive organisation, and financial investment may be out of reach for some organisations, which is fine. And there are lots of ways that you can still support our work through sharing our messaging, and also through getting involved in some of our working groups or our cross-cutting themes that Rachel will talk about a little bit later. But we do have to talk about money, because that's how we fund this incredible work that we're all doing together. And that's basically what the funds go towards. So we first introduced our sponsor and partner level at £5,000 for a 12-month period. That hasn't been increased. That was there right from the start 2 years ago. And we're just enriching what we do at that level. So we're introducing some new things which are live now on our website, which Ben's going to talk about, so that we can go even further with sharing your resources and useful information that you're producing and getting involved in as a partner or sponsor. And then for those organisations that really want to go further, there's an opportunity to be associated and get involved with work at a resource level. And a resource level means, for example, if we're working on it could be a white paper or something on a certain topic. Yes, you would have involvement as a supporter of that with your logo and things, but actually over a 12-month period, you get exposure and involvement in so many different things linked to that one resource. So different panels that we're attending, different articles that we're writing, and that continues, and really that we end up creating bespoke programs that will work for both organizations. So I won't go into that detail now, but that we can absolutely talk about that on a separate call for anyone who's interested. And then we've introduced our program level, which is really much where we get even more in depth in terms of co-creating resources, research pieces. And I'll let Rachel talk about an example of that we've just started recently. I think that's the next slide, I think, Ben.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, we just wanted to share an example of our first program partnership. So we're collaborating with Trustmark, Impact on Urban Health, and Arup as program partners on a project that came out of a State of the Nation review that I mentioned from Working Group 5, which really uncovered something that probably many of you are familiar with and may be frustrated with in the retrofit sector, that often retrofit projects are targeting a really narrow range of outcomes, and those outcomes that are targeted are often not even accurately measured or evaluated. So if we're thinking about energy use reductions, often we're not monitoring that in detail and proving that that's really happening. Alongside that, there are a whole raft of what's sort of traditionally known as co-benefits of retrofit, which we would see as core benefit, such as improved health outcomes, that we're not targeting directly at all, but we might be achieving. So what we're looking at here is trying to map who's already done work in this space. We know that there are different frameworks already out there for mapping and evaluating the whole sort of way that we can achieve benefit within retrofit. So we're evaluating some of those schemes. We're doing some engagement with people who might have used those frameworks in the past to find out how they're working and what's preventing more uptake. And then we're looking towards the future, which is essentially what outcomes should be measured and how should they impact the program design and delivery for retrofit projects. So this program is sort of being co-authored by ourselves and by our program partners. We're doing lots of research and evaluation over the course of the next 9 months, and we'll be looking at a series of different outputs across the course of that period of time that help sort of shift the dial in this sort of space and try to get to a point where all of the benefits of retrofit are being targeted, measured, and delivered on all projects. So finding out where the best way to intervene in that system might be. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, that program has really been defined by that relationship with those program partners who have a much bigger role in helping not only fund but deliver that work. On the next slide, you'll see I've included some of the cross-cutting themes that have recently been defined by our recent advisory panel and open meetings. I put this up there because I think these are really interesting potential places for those program partnerships to focus. And these are some particular ones that our audience is particularly engaged with. So we know that we can leverage such a large part of our network to help do really meaningful work on these. So one's community retrofit, and I've pulled out some questions from each of these. There are many questions, and these are just a few examples, but looking at how community organisations can be supported to play an active role in determining and supporting retrofit. We're also thinking about heritage and whole life carbon. And the idea there is, can we flip the script and think about how traditional and heritage buildings approach the use of local bio-based materials, really consider building physics and whole life carbon emissions? And actually, is that the way that we should be approaching retrofit of all buildings to achieve good quality? We're doing some work on place-based approaches, and that might be a really interesting place for your organisation to get involved, thinking about the opportunities of devolution. Quality assurance is also a big topic that's really of interest to our network. We've started a little bit of work here, but we're also looking for support to push that a bit further and see how the system might be improved to provide adequate protections for all. I mentioned our outcomes and impact work, but I think that there's a definite next step from that, which is looking at financing and thinking about multi-source funding, who might buy the benefits of retrofit essentially, and what do they need in order to unlock their finance. And then finally, procurement, something that comes up time and again in so many of our different work streams, thinking about how procurement might better deliver social value, enable community wealth building, but also support SMEs. So these are some potential ideas where that program partnership might come in, but it might also be something else that comes up in a working group or a topic that you're considering that is aligned with some of our objectives. So some food for thought there for any of you that are thinking a program partnership might be for you. Go to the next slide. Back to you, I think, Ben.
Me.
Oh, sorry, you, Rach.
Let's move this time. Yeah. So 5 key channels that we use to communicate our work and amplify the work of our partners and sponsors. And so I'll just, in terms of PR, we won't talk about that extensively today, but we work with a specialist PR agency called Fabric, who work purely in the built environment. Events. So Ben, next slide, please. In terms of events, we have events throughout the year. This is just a handful of the events that we're involved with. We have invite-only events. And so as a member of the advisory panel, you would get invited to those sorts of events where we, for example, co-hosted an event with the New Economics Foundation in January, where we invited Minister Van Buller. And we recently just launched our 6-month exhibition and event series that we have co-curated with the Building Centre in London. So we had a launch event for that where our advisory panel was invited, and you can see an image from that in the bottom left. Something that blows me away is the kind of attendance that we get at events and the feedback that we get from the quality of that networking that's done. And then Retrofit 25 is open now to the public for the next 6 months at the Building Centre. And we are regularly hosting and curating panels at a number of events throughout the year as well, which our partners and sponsors, we invite them to join us on panels. And then the next slide, I just wanted to give you an example of the sorts of decision makers and sorts of people that we have involved from across the sector. So a broad selection from different expert areas, and also a lot of senior decision makers from these organisations that are involved in our network. And now I'm going to hand over to Ben, I think, to talk you through, some of the communications channels.
Yeah, great, thanks. So just going to quickly run you through some key stats that hopefully demonstrate that not only do we have like a growing audience, but also quite an engaged audience as well. So in social media, our main channel is LinkedIn, and you can see there that we've got a steadily growing follower base, and it's not only that it's growing, but in terms of our engagement rate, the average is about 10%, which is I think it's quite positive. And it's something a trend that we also see on our newsletter as well. So you can see sort of our subscriber growth there, and also our newsletter open rate, which I think is about 68% average, which I can't remember exactly the statistic, but higher than the industry average from what we can tell. And also in terms of our website, I think this is taken from the 90-day period. So we're 42% increase in views from the 90-day period before that. So everything's going in the right direction, which I think we can all agree is positive. And then so some sort of key statistics here. So our newsletter has over 2,500 subscribers. I've spoken about sort of the open rate of our newsletters, and that's as well as the click-through rate with 28% average there, with an industry average of 3.9%. And LinkedIn followers. So we had 250,000 impressions on LinkedIn over the past 12 months. I think that's something that we're quite proud of in terms of the people that we're reaching. And something I saw that we had sort of 4% of our total web visits come from our partner and sponsor pages. So it's definitely sort of a place that people are interested in visiting and seeing what's there. And that, in a wider sense, we have over 700 working group participants, and we've got a growing network of 3,500 experts. So just going to quickly run through here how we can sort of use our website to benefit your organization's goals. So we host organizations' websites. We host organizations of our partners and sponsors on our website. So an example of that, I'll just pop on here. Hopefully you can still see this. On our website, we have our partners and sponsors, and we've got pages here. So sort of an about page with a description about your organization, text about why you choose to partner with the hub, and then also a quote there from someone from your organization. And finally, sort of the crucial role of collaboration to enabling the retrofitting of homes in the UK. And something new that we've added recently are these tabs here. So sort of research and resources, news and events. And these are ways that we can get your work shared to our network and our community. So an example of that, I think it's a new addition, so we just need to do a little bit of work on the research and resources to get that finalized. But hopefully you can see from the news and events that it will be sort of displayed like this on your partner page. So any news that you find is important that you want to share with this network, we can host on there. It can also be included in our newsletter and on our social media, and also events as well. So here you can see just a small description, and then it will click through to your website wherever you're hosting that event. These pages are also quite customizable. So let's say maybe events aren't necessarily applicable to your organization. We can sort of remove that, so there won't be like a blank box that says nothing there, so we can make it work for you really. And on top of this, we also share webinars and podcasts now. This is another new addition. So any webinars that you would like to share with our network, we can do that here. So with the title, again, we won't host the actual video. We'll link through to your website or wherever you're hosting the video, so you'll still get those visitors. And we have this new filter section here as well. So if someone wanted to find tools, for instance, they could click this filter and then all of the webinars about tools will come up. And yeah, that's a very similar scenario with the podcasts as well. So yeah, let's see. And yes. So, and that's all easily done via our submissions form. We've created a form, and it makes it really easy for our partners and sponsors just to submit anything they want to be hosted on their website. Yeah, and it will just come to us, and we'll update that. So other ways that you can get involved and maximize engagement. As a partner or sponsor, you'll have access to sharing your work across our network, like I mentioned, and you can also use our sort of proud partner and sponsor logos that you can see there on the right. And if you don't already, it'd be great if you gave us a follow on either of our social medias. There's LinkedIn, there's Instagram as well. And yes, is there anything else that you wanted to cover there, Rachel? Or
no, I think that's
no, all good.
all good. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think obviously Ben and Rach have given you a really good overview of what benefit partner and sponsorship provides to your organizations. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why it's important to us as the NRH. So firstly, having these partners and sponsors and making sure we've got a really diverse range of organizations engaging in that way helps us to convene really impartially and bring together everyone into the conversation, ensuring that all views are heard within the retrofit sector so we understand the whole system. It helps us work without commercial motivation, which means that our independence is really respected by decision makers and government. And it also then helps us do that engagement with government, meaning that we can openly share industry insights, influence the creation of policy in a way that works for everyone. It also enables the creation of our resources and tools that we hope benefit the whole sector. And finally, but really importantly, is that our advisory panel, which is formed from our partners and sponsors, is a really powerful resource for us. It's formed of leaders throughout the retrofit sector who are able to provide invaluable insights and help shape our work and make sure that we as an organisation are going in the right direction. So having your organisations join that panel is a real benefit to us as well. At the end of this session, we'll send you, as I mentioned, the recording and also our brochure. Please do get in touch with Ben, Rach, me, or the info@ email address if you'd like to discuss anything further. But yeah, we'd be really keen to try and find a way to bring many more of you in as partners and sponsors to support the work that we do. So yeah, if you've got questions, please pop them in the chat or follow up by email, and we will be back in touch with you all soon. Thank you.